and I was a good punker. So I decided, who cares? I'm going to just do what I want. So I did a lot. I had a lot of experiences, which I look back now, it's pretty enriching. Like I did things that were against my better judgment if I was using my better judgment. But I remember I turned 23 and I got an opportunity to go to rehab. I was like, well, nothing's taking me out anytime soon. And I got way more potential than this. And I dove in the way I just pick a lifestyle, right? I have certain things I do and I don't do. I don't eat candy. It makes me feel bad. So I just don't do it. I don't do drugs. I'll work out, but I don't have to work out every day. It's just my lifestyle. Like I do positive things. It's way easier to slip into the bad side. In order to go bad, you don't have to do anything. It's super easy. To do good, you got to work. I'll motivate myself being, hey, this situation might not be looking that good. And I do things to be prepared, because that's the only way things are good and fun and life is rad, is when you're prepared.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. We're bridging the gap between mental health, wellness, and rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Hey, are you feeling a little stuck in life? I offer wellness coaching sessions. Book a session with me if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead. Sessions are available worldwide. And check this out. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We've simplified your shopping experience and given you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. And did you know all our Collaborative Resource Hub interviews air on YouTube as well as all major podcast platforms? Subscribe to stay in the loop. Go immerse yourself in the full Collaborative Resource Hub experience over on our website. You'll have access to helpful resources that will inspire and educate you. So let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer. Nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. Randy from Pennywise, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited that you're here, and we're just going to have like a free-flowing talk about all things wellness and feeling good.
All righty. Sounds good. Sounds interesting.
So I guess we'll start with what does wellness mean to you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it just means having kind of a wellness would mean you're just kind of cruising, no problems. You just at cruising speed.
Yeah.
And or homeostasis or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, that's true, because if you're unwell, then things are not moving as effortlessly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been, I guess, like a time in your life when you've felt like you've needed to make yourself a priority to like really like get back on track or refocus?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, I guess the analogy or metaphor would be like riding a bike. I mean, okay, so I'll go back to when I was younger, and I was a teenager. It's funny, it's right around when I started getting into punk rock. This would have been around 1979, 1980. I'm a little older, and but I was around 15 years old, and I didn't realize it, but I was pretty much a mess, like I didn't understand I didn't know then what I know now. So life is all about accepting responsibility and nurturing those taking care of those responsibilities, nurturing parts of your life, putting a lot of effort into doing the work to create like a foundation and a base and some comfort so you can enjoy yourself. And all those things just seemed like nothing I wanted a part of. I was, basically, I don't think I acted like it, but inside I was a spoiled brat. And I didn't want to do any of the work. So I got into punk rock. I don't know, it was scary to me. I didn't know I couldn't see that far in front of me. And I was afraid. I was scared. Look, this is all looking back. I was I wanted to have fun. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. Now, it ended up working out great for me, because the only thing I wanted to do was listen to music, play music, have a great time, and just play. So I did those things, to the extreme,
Uh-huh.
very much extreme, to where I mean, well, I'll go into it, but a little bit, because we don't have all day, but I spent I didn't realize it then, but all my heart was into music. And so I spent all that time playing music. And then just along the way, just saw the good fortune that ended up being my whole life. But it's still a job. Like, you have to work at it. But anyway, so back then, but I got super into doing drugs. Um, Avoiding all responsibility, you name it. If I got a traffic violation, I wasn't showing up to court. If there was a line anywhere, I wasn't going to go. I wasn't going to eat food. Just wanted to get high. And it just progressed and progressed. And it was a great, yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, it just like, did you have friends? Were you shitty to your friends, or were
I
you
was,
good with them?
I was just going to say, in Long Beach, it was a great scene. I mean, punk rock was amazing. Like, you got rewarded for being a numbskull, for being and so I did it all. So I had a massive group of friends, and I was in a band, and it all worked together. But my personal life, like what I was neglecting along the way, what I didn't realize, because also there was it was cool if you didn't care. There's a whole nihilist thing. And no, it was a lot of fun, lots of parties, lots of friends. But I was a mess and didn't really realize it. And then as time went on, and other people started realizing that, you can't just do heroin and meth and, any drug, and then not pay rent, and then keep telling the landlord that you're going to pay it until the marshal shows up and locks you out of your house, which happened to me. That was like a pattern.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I kind of was like, felt very kind of hopeless, I guess, as far as seeing myself as a productive member of society. But I didn't necessarily want that. I wanted to be a punk rocker. I wanted to be dirty. I wanted
So
to be all.
yeah, you saw what you weren't, but it sounds like you weren't even sure that you wanted to be what you weren't.
Well, I wanted to be what I was, but there's consequences for
Yeah.
that. And it's like, my dad used to tell me, you're burning the candle at both ends, and so the flame's going to burn out. So I didn't realize. That's why I say I was immature. I was kind of spoiled. I wanted what I wanted, and I wasn't nurturing any of my responsibilities. So I didn't realize. So all I could see was that the flame was going to burn out soon. So I was really messed up. Like, I had dedicated myself to, like, I'm just going to be a junkie. I'm going to be good at it. I'm going to do, I was doing I was just kind of scandalous, I guess. It just wasn't a healthy life, especially now I can look back. So I was a mess for a few years. And then when I turned 23, okay, well, wait, I'll go back just a little bit. I just thought, hey, I'm going to do this, and then something's going to kill me, and it'll be
Right.
fine. Because all the cool people die when they're young. Sid died at 21, So I kind of had this, you kind of romanticize I did. I kind of romanticized this thing, and I was a good punker, like everything I did, it just made you a little bit more, kind of cool, I guess,
Yeah.
and backwards way. And so I decided, I'm going to, who cares? I'm going to just do what I want. Something's going to kill me. So I had a lot of experiences, which I look back now, it was pretty enriching. Like, I did things that were against my better judgment if I was using my better judgment. So I have those experiences, right? But then I remember I turned 23, and I got an opportunity to go to rehab. And this was 1987. And I thought, it was very apparent. I was like, well, it looks like I'm going to be around here for a while. I'm not, nothing's taking me out anytime soon. And I got way more potential than this, because my actions didn't really reflect my, I don't know, my intellect or whatever, or my potentials. I shouldn't say intellect because I was kind of a dumbass. Well, I was doing a lot of dumb shit. So anyways,
potential.
Yeah. So I saw that that's when I saw, at that moment. So I got an opportunity to go to rehab, and I dove in, like, that was it. Like, I'm starting my life now. And I set goals, and I did. So setting goals and achieving goals takes effort, and it's kind of painful, right? But I had already been through all the pain, the pain with no payoff. So I was fine with that. So I just completely dedicated myself to being sober and trying to and I actually set a goal of playing music for my living. I didn't care what I was going to make, how much it was going to be, what my living was, but I was going to make it playing music. So that was basically kind of I don't know, in a corny way, it was like a rebirth, So I forgot what the question was, but that's what I said too. So yeah, anyways, so that's kind of like what woke me up and got me very focused on being healthy as possible and feeling well and wellness, and doing the work that it takes to kind of maintain that cruising speed, or
Yeah. Well, so I guess what oh my God, I have like a bazillion questions just from that. But basically, I know people who, are that prior version of you, and I feel like a lot of people don't, they haven't hit that point in their life where they realize that they can do other things, they can think differently, they can feel differently. So like, I don't know, you had the opportunity for rehab, but what else kind of like got in your head and really like, kicked you in the nuts and made you realize like, goals and probably some sort of organization and just like really being on top of your stuff?
Well, pain, a
Okay.
hurt, you know. Um, I just I didn't realize what the consequences were of following the path I was on. So that's when I just, I started. I got a job, and I went to work every day, and just, I'm okay with a certain level of discomfort in order to maintain, prioritize and kind of be disciplined. Like, uh, kind of choose a lifestyle. Like, I don't like being disciplined. The minute that things start getting, that I have to follow rules, then I want to just go the other way and be bad, kind of, like I got a little kid in me that wants to do the bad stuff. But I almost play games with myself. Like, I'm not, like, the way I just pick a lifestyle, right? So I got a lot of room to move in between the lines, and they could, they're not hard set, but I have certain things I do and I don't do,
Yeah.
and, like, I don't eat candy. It makes me feel bad. It's
Right.
junk. So I just don't do it. I look at it, I don't feel bad. I don't do drugs now, because, like, I started. It's funny because I started drinking again at some point, but I never went back to what I was doing when I was younger. But these are just certain things. It's like I just don't do that. It's not even a big deal. I don't even have to hold myself back. It's just
Yeah.
things I,
Yeah. You've
So
just
I have,
your priorities have shifted. So
yeah,
yeah.
I have a lifestyle. So, like, and I'll work out and stuff, but I don't have to work out every day. I don't have to work out at a certain time every day. Like, it's just my lifestyle. Like, so if I have time, I'm going to go, I'll run on the treadmill for a little bit. I don't have to look in the mirror and go, oh, I got to build my my triceps or my biceps. I don't care about that. I do positive things. And I have, like, just, these are always things that are on my mind to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I like that because I mean, like, I just have a visual of like you're sitting at a table and it's just like all these different like plates or boxes or something out in front of you, and it's just all good stuff. So you're just kind of like, vacillating between all of them instead of making these like hard, fast rules, because rules can feel so defeating for so many people. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I know myself, I've taken the time to get, uh, you got to be honest. So I'm 57 years old, so I've had a lot of time to kind of figure things out. So I know how to talk to myself, and so that's good for maintaining things. So I don't, because I know that if I do make these hard rules, that I'm gonna go, like I said, I'm gonna rebel.
Yeah. I guess like over the years, what's kind of helped you go inwards? Because a lot of people earlier in their path, they don't make that trek inwards.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I have 4 kids, and they all have, they're born with their personality. Okay, so I'm very analytical. I'm pretty self-conscious, probably overly self-conscious. And I gravitate towards, hey, my friends are like all kind of like assholes, like they'll tell you they're honest with you. And I
Yeah.
think like that for a reason, because you want them. I think this all goes back to like evolution and stuff. You want to have a core group of friends that you can depend on and rely on, and so they challenge you all the time, right? So through that, and trying to having a desire to be the best, I just do. Since I tried to be basically the worst person I could be, kind of. It's not completely accurate, but I
Yeah.
try to be the best person I can be. So I'm honest with myself, and so I'm analytical, and then I analyze it. How am I acting? What am I doing? What's the right way to do it? How can I make myself feel better? I don't trust like doctors. I can't, because here's another thing. It comes to communication, right? So everything depends on how you communicate to everyone around you in the world, right? So if I go to the doctor, how am I possibly going to communicate everything that's going on inside me? Not a physical, I'm not talking about physical things, because you can x-ray and you can see what's going on. But if I have emotional issues, that's nobody's responsibility except for myself. Nobody can fix me. And the only way to get right, because life's hard, everyone has problems, right? So
Yep.
you got to figure out, and it has so much. Some people are blessed with a great positive outlook, right? I'm more of a realist. If things aren't looking good, then I'm going to be, that doesn't look good. How am I going to fix it, right? So I have no
But
choice.
so you're a realist erring on the side of optimism because you
You
want,
know, I gain optimism. I gain moment, or kind of like I get motivated when I look at how bad the situation can be, right? So I'll look at things, and I'm analytical. So I'll be like, here's the good side, here's the bad side. Well, it's really easy to slip in. It's way easier to slip into the bad side. You don't have to do, in order to go bad, you don't have to do anything. It's super easy to do good. You got to work.
Mhm.
So I'll motivate myself by being, hey, this situation might not be looking that good. I know people don't do this very much, and you would never find this in a book. Like almost every night when we go on stage, I just go, I'm not ready. So what does that do? That gets me go out there. I go out on stage 45 minutes early, and I start warming up. And I go, I warm up my voice, and I do things to be prepared, because that's the only way things are good and fun and life is rad, is when you're prepared and you can handle it. And you got a positive attitude. Like, I'm not just bullshitting myself that I can handle it. I really can handle it because I'm prepared.
Here's an advert in less than 20 seconds. Did you know that Wellness Provisions offers one-on-one wellness sessions? Yep. So if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead in life, but feeling a little stuck, then book a session and let's get you unstuck. Now back to the interview.
And so going back to what I was saying, I know it takes a long time to get there, but what got me to look inside? I realize it's my responsibility. My health and how I feel is all my responsibility. So I have no choice but to try to figure it out, and look inside and kind of get it. It's like going in a maze. Um, and I wouldn't have done any of that if it wasn't for discomfort. I mean, that I went through when I was younger or whenever, because it's people don't like to be uncomfortable, But if you're not uncomfortable, then why wouldn't you just stay on the couch and watch poison TV, you know? Yeah, you know, I think that that look inside, that introspection is out of necessity, basically.
Yeah. So you see for sure like value in pain and suffering and discomfort. You see that as the potential for refocusing and like growth.
Absolutely. And that's, sorry to say it, but those are just realities. Life is you know, I saw some thing on Instagram where there was like a cheetah cub, and it was a meme, and it was like, you know, why would you bring me into this world of suffering, you know? And it's like, well, you don't get the good unless you unless you go through the bad. And so the other option is just to not exist, right? And so that's not really an option. So life is all about, you know, you better get good at dealing with the suffering, because it's a reality. And that's another thing I think about is like, when did life get easy? When was it supposed, when were we promised it was easy? You know, so I think that I mean, it's definitely a different topic, but whatever, I'll just talk about it, everything. You can do what you want with it. I think we're kind of got sucked into this kind of, and it's like an advertising campaign. I think we live in a gigantic advertising campaign in a lot of different ways for a lot of different motives, but big, you know, big pharma, it sounds cliche, but you know, pharmaceutical industry is selling medications, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they tell, you're not supposed to feel bad, you're not supposed to do this, you here, we got, just come see us and we have something for you. So I don't fall for that shit. And when was life supposed to be easy? That's a lie. You know, you take the whatever, just a basic outline of evolution that we've been, you know, humans have been evolving for at least 100,000 years, maybe more. What if our ancestors, like, when did they have it easy? We wouldn't be here if they weren't badasses, and we don't know what they had to go through to survive
Yeah.
every generation, get us here. So life's not supposed to be easy.
But that's it though. Like that just like popped into my head is like for them to survive. And like we are still as like human beings carrying, you know, the fight, flight, freeze response. Like survival mode is like our go-to mode because like there has been so much struggle and difficulty just for humans. So like, yeah, like it's knowing how to navigate that though. And now these days, knowing how to turn that, you know, flight, fight off so that you can feel relaxed in your body.
Exactly, because that, I think that's kind of the I mean, it's easy to sink into that as a default. It's
Oh
like
God, yeah.
fear mode, you know,
Mm-hmm.
survival. And it is hard to step out of that. But also it's, the way to step out of that is to do the work. So you have true confidence and to accept the realities of life. Like when I was in the program, this is why I just really, I see what a lot of people, even people that I knew back then that were in the program, and the things they say, and I'm like, how were we involved in completely different like ideologies? Because it's one of the things in the program was like, accept life on life's terms. Okay, so I have to take, I might not like it, I might not like the hand, another cliche thing, the hand that was dealt me, right? But that's what I have
Yeah.
with a crappy hand. You just have to keep playing, and you have to you have to like convey positivity and think, you know, there's tricks. So everyone gets what they get, and who knows what like so maybe life has no meaning at all, right?
Right.
Or maybe it does. We don't know. Maybe you got dealt that shitty hand because you had, this is your purpose to do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, you know, saying of like accepting life on life's terms and doing the best you can with it. You know, so that's kind of like something, and I idealism or that I've developed, that I'm just doing the best I can constantly and always trying to move to a better place. You don't have to feel great. I don't have to feel good all the time. Sometimes maybe I just don't feel good. Maybe I need a nap. I don't know. But you just got to keep going. You keep putting one foot in front of the other, and then at least you're accomplishing something,
Yeah. I mean, I guess kind of like what the carrot is at the end of the stick, like feeling good, in your
Right.
mind and your body. So, and also, when you feel bad, because I feel like these days also it's immediately like, oh, you feel like shit. Well, turn on the positivity light,
Yeah.
like you need to sit in it and feel it and like
Yeah.
absorb it so that you can process it
Yeah.
and then move through it.
Absolutely. You get stronger, and then you know how to deal with that next time. It's like the yin yang symbol is like, it's the contrast. It's the dark and the light, and there's a little bit of dark in the light. So there's contrast. You need to have all those things. And so I just think that whole mindset, like the whole advertising campaign that we live in, somebody is trying to somebody's going to capitalize off of it, because if they can get you to think a certain way, then it's beneficial for them. And this, you don't need TV for that. This also goes back to like organized religion, like, right? So, or anything that has the power to to gain the masses, a kind of a populist thing, it will eventually be taken advantage of by sociopaths and psychopaths,
Uh-huh.
and they do that. And I mean, that's a greater kind of scheme of how the world runs. It doesn't really necessarily affect people on a dated. It does.
It
You have to,
does.
you have to know how to ignore it, but I know it's really hard. So it's kind of like you're kind of in a maze, and it's why they say ignorance is bliss too. Because like before I ever got into punk rock and stuff, I was just surfing. I was a surfer, or I liked baseball. All these things that I wanted to do, and that was everything. I don't. Who cares what taxes were? Or who cares what the price of gas was, and all that stuff. So ignorance is bliss, but I'm analytical. I'm older. I pay attention to things, and I want to know, because I feel like there's a higher purpose. I mean, I choose to believe I've adopted the belief, that there's a higher purpose for things. And I don't know what that is, but I always feel like if I'm doing the best I can and constantly trying to learn and figure things out, that somehow I'm doing the right thing. It just feels like I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. So what do you think about like kind of being in your own bubble and brainwashing yourself
Mm.
instead of letting external, forces brainwash you then?
Yeah, I mean, they also said in the program, like, you can't change people, places, or things, but you can change your perception, right?
Mhm.
So it's like you're brainwashing yourself. Okay. So so maybe there needs to be a better term than brainwashing, right? Because it's just got this negative connotation.
Yeah.
But you have your brain, you have plasticity. You can change your views and thoughts. And really what I think is like, okay, so we're here, right? We're living because there's an experience, right? Just the experience, just existing. Okay. So maybe it's like, I like to like envision this, like maybe everything's just a huge video game.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you play a video game? Because you want to have fun. Video games aren't easy. You could get, the Pac-Man can eat you, and things like that. So whatever it takes to kind of keep you playing the game and feeling good, then I guess that's just what it takes. You have to brainwash yourself, then you have to brainwash yourself. I don't know.
I like the video game analogy though. That's a good one.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I remember when I was younger, you'd have one quarter and you'd go play pinball.
Yeah.
And if you played the game good enough, you'd win more games. So you could take that one quarter and play for like 2 hours if you're really good. And kind of like, right? So that's kind of an analogy like for life too. You got to keep winning. You got to keep extending your time, and you got to do a good job and then it's fun. So Yeah, I think the video game analogy is a good one. And for all we know, I mean, that could be, uh, well, we just don't know anything, do we?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what it is, maybe we're just floating around in nothingness, for billions of years somewhere in the universe, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, who knows, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like, hey, let's make some thing up and go down there and you know
Experiment.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you're here, like, I bet you if you had the chance, like, let's say it's all done, and you die. Let's say if you were still sentient and you're just floating around in nothingness, you'd be like, I just want to feel the sun on my face one more time, you know so we don't know. Everything could mean nothing. Also, it could just be like, hey, we evolved and here we are, we're just here for a minute. But you might as well, you got to get the most out of it as you can. um
Yeah.
you, I don't know, so
Yeah.
that's like a major motivator.
Something I've been kind of like thinking about lately and sort of tripping out on is like, um, sort of trying to think of how to explain it, kind of getting outside myself a little bit, because we all think of this is our life, this is our path, people come into our life. But what if we're like here for someone else's
Mm,
path more than
mm,
they're on our path? Like,
mm.
what if we're shaping someone else's experience in a far more substantial way than they're necessarily affecting us? Like, that's kind of trippy.
Well, it's funny. I remember when I was down at the bottom, just a junkie walking around the street. I remember thinking, like, I didn't find much joy in anything. I didn't see a whole lot of, I didn't see a bright future ahead. And I would, you know, I would think, man, I don't even want to be here. Right. But then it's funny because I would even have these little flashes of like, hey, I would think the right thing, even in these moments. I thought, well, maybe I need to be here because, like, if I'm walking across the street one time and someone honks and asks me for directions, maybe that person's really important, and I just gave them the directions they needed in order to be amazing.
Yeah.
So you always have a purpose, so like what you're saying. So I
Yeah.
agree with that. It's not all just, I mean, it's very easy to be focused on yourself. Uh, and I can do that. I'm kind of probably pretty self oriented, but or have been. But I got 4 kids, so basically, once we had our first kid, I was like, wow, everything I thought was important before for my life is nothing now. It seems so minuscule and small because I'm in charge of helping to guide and raise children,
Yeah.
which felt like such a huge important. It was just so much purpose and so much importance because they don't ask to be here, right? So you're bringing them in the world. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to make that a good experience or a bad experience? So that's something that's my number one main priority in life, you
Yeah.
know, my children.
What is there like one really big important thing or a few things that you really want to bestow upon them? Just, I mean, even if they're like older now, like what's like super important you want them to just kind of like be privy to with life?
I don't know. That's really hard because I had a whole lot of ideas of what kind of parent I was going to be, and they come out with their own personalities, and they all need something different. So, and really, it's kind of like the analogy would be like you're teaching them how to ride a bike, and you're holding on to them, and you're holding them up, and then at some point they start going on their own, and then you're just kind of hovering and making sure they don't fall. So, I mean, what I try to get them to understand is that they have to be responsible for their own lives. Everything comes down to being responsible and taking responsibility for everything. I think probably one of the things I wanted them to understand, I don't know why this sticks out to me, is like if they did something and they said, I'm sorry, I'd say, well, I'm sorry doesn't pay the rent. So I mean, it's kind of an asshole thing to say. I understand you're sorry, I understand you feel bad about it, but if you can't just keep doing the same things and keep saying you're sorry. And
Right.
believe, I know how to say I'm sorry. I can make you cry with my apology, because I've been the moron. you know the only reason I know anything is because I've made all the mistakes, and I've made them over and over. So yeah, I don't know. It's just basically probably my number one thing would be to say is you just got to keep doing it. You got to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you got to keep living, and don't give up, and then everything will work itself out.
Yeah.
Um, it's
What if
gonna.
what if they feel just like this is too hard, or this is just like lost, or hopeless or something like that? What would you say to them?
I don't know. I mean, over the years, I have conversations with my kids, and I just try to share my experience
Yeah.
and what I've learned. And my dad used to do that with me. He would tell me this and that and everything, and it didn't make sense until I went through it. And I'm like, oh man, now I know exactly what he meant. But that's great too, because I knew it right then. I just try to be there in case they fall, and then I'll just do what I can to help. You kind of just take it as you go. It's really hard nowadays too. Like, how are you? COVID was fucking crazy, because my older kids, I got older kids, both in their early 20s, and then I got a girl boy that's 10 and 12, and then 21 and 23. So the older kids, my son was going to Orange Coast College. He was on the crew team, the rowing team,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, yeah, if he sticks with that, then he could get a small scholarship to like a state school or something like that. And you just do that, go through the motions of that, get those things. You can jump through the hoops, and who knows what's going to happen after that. And then COVID hit, and they wanted to like move crew to the computer, and he's like, he lost interest. So yeah, so that's interesting. So both my older kids are still like, we're home is home base, and so they basically still live here, you
Yeah.
know whatever they want in between. So I don't know, there's curveballs that get hit, and what are you going to do? Like, what am I going to? So this is kind of like answering your question, like, it's like I'm having them still stay here. Like, my idea was like, no, you got to get out, you got to be responsible. But who's that going to help now if I said, no, you got to get out? But what are they going to do? They're going to probably my son will probably go move in with like 5 friends, and that's probably not going to be the best thing. So I don't know, there's a lot of bridges you have to cross and if you're dealing with something for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
then how do you know you're doing it right? Right. So I'm still like a kid in a lot of ways. Like,
Right.
I don't know what's up ahead. I'm just going to keep going. And I think, and do have the confidence that I will figure things out if I try, and I'm, set priorities and goals and things like that.
Yeah. And know what areas you can be prepared to account for the areas that you can't be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You gotta know what you don't know a little bit.
Right. You got to deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that one.
So how do you stay healthy when you guys are like on tour?
Okay. So I quit drinking, about 5 years ago now. And so that's huge in itself. I have some habits that I think are good, like a very simple one. I wake up, I try to get, plenty of rest, good night's sleep. And the first thing I do in the morning is I guzzle a huge glass of water. So water, and be focused on what's my body need. Am I hungry? Am I not hungry? Really kind of paying attention to my circadian rhythms, right? So what's your body going to do when it's supposed to do it? And then, because my body doesn't know if it changed timelines, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning when it's supposed to be 8 o'clock at night. So
Uh-huh.
going on the road, I kind of let my body dictate. If I can stay on my home schedule, I'll try to do that. Going on stage every night and playing is like, that's a workout. So I I try to stay hydrated. I'll eat like, 3 hours before we play, something like that, light. I'll bring like a pair of running shoes or whatever. And if we're at a hotel and a day off, I go on the treadmill, you know, I'll do a few push-ups, just little things, nothing huge. Like I'm not trying to be Hulk Hogan. I'm just trying to let my body know that, hey, I still need you. And, so, right. So just kind of like, I hate moderation in thing. Yeah, I don't like moderation. If I like something, I want to do it until I wreck it
So
and make
all
it.
or nothing.
Yeah. But that doesn't turn out so good. So I try to be moderate, in things. And I'm focused on what you put in your body. I think that I read a book so after I was a total mess, I started thinking like, wow, I don't know, I've put myself through a lot. And so I should probably try to, I don't want to say the word heal, but try to just be in the best shape I can be and as healthy as possible and learn some stuff. So I read this book called Fit for Life Part 2. And this was like a second book that they wrote. They talked about a lot of crazy stuff like food combining and things like that. But it made a little sense. It made some sense, but it just really had an impact on me. And I even did that for a long time. But what that did was that taught me some discipline around food and what you're putting in your body. And that book explained that like basically almost all disease is what it said comes from what you put in your body. And so, to stay on topic of your question is like, what do I do on the road? I'm always very focused on what am I eating? And I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian. I believe we're omnivores and not ignoring the bigger picture of, all the things that are involved in like the meat industry or just everything, all these things.
But really quick, there's also a huge difference between factory farming and like regenerative farming, especially for the sake of like the planet. Regenerative farming is actually like good for the planet. So there's even caveats with that too.
Right. So, but just, focusing on my own health, I feel like I'm just careful what I eat, and I'll eat everything as long as it's high quality. So I try to do. And so I'm aware of nutrition in food, quality of food, your circadian rhythms of what your body wants to do when it wants to do it, being well hydrated and being active and getting plenty of rest. And so these are just some guidelines that I have. That's the big road I'm on. And I just, I don't have to do it every day. If I want to do something that's, not perfect, I got room for that.
Yes.
Yeah. There's foods, man, the food in the US just is so shitty. I go to Europe and I can eat almost anything and my stomach's never bothering me. It's really crazy. So there's the FDA for you. I don't know who's paying the FDA.
Well, that's it. It's all like the chemicals and both like from growing the ingredient or just all the add-ins, like it's so different. The US is just chock full of shit and everything.
Absolutely. And that's a smaller microcosm of everything. So, okay. So that comes into play. Why is it like that? Why do all these why does money run everything, right? And so people would say, well, that's capitalism. Okay, right. So the ideology of capitalism is you have a product, you sell it, you can get what you get out of it. And so the whole basis of capitalism is, I believe, just that the ideology of it is the best thing that ever happened. Just anybody can, if they have if they work hard and they have the desire, they can move themselves out of a caste system. You're not in a, so it does create a lot of freedom, but there's perversions at the top. Once someone amasses a lot of money, then they control everything. Horrible. Okay, same thing with like communism. You've got, or socialism, communism. You've got the people at the top that they can amass everything and everyone else is equally poor. Okay, so no, they're all great when they're just an idea. But for me, if it wasn't for capitalism, then I don't get to be in a band. I don't get to go sell t-shirts at shows. So I have to be on that side. But, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because but then the bad parts of it, that's what we are living in. Like, our food sucks because all these corporations pay off whoever the hell they need to, and they just do whatever they want. Across
And
the
they fund, their own studies, or they fund studies that
Yeah,
benefit them. So
yeah,
it's like, this is really bad because we're making it look like that.
right.
All right. So do you have a favorite quote that you like a lot?
I have a lot of quotes that I like, and I see them. I follow a lot of stuff on Instagram that I like, but there's a book I read years ago called The Sun Tzu, The Art of War, by the Sun Tzu. And the quote I like is, if a battle cannot be won, then don't fight it. So to me, that means, like, you just got to know, you got to be real with yourself and know where you stand in the world, and just be realistic and do things that are high probability, and don't take on something that you're going to get beaten down, and that doesn't mean don't try with stuff, but you got to be real with yourself. That's why I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. Okay. So my next question, I love asking people this one. So the tagline for my business is delay dying. So
Mm.
I like to ask, if you had to give someone like tips or advice on how to delay dying, or in other words, just live a happier, healthier life, what would you say?
Well, I would say, honestly, it sounds so simple, but just drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water, get a lot of rest, and eat high quality food. And, and also, do a certain amount of physical activity.
Yeah. Those are like the pillars for health right there.
Yeah, I know it sounds cliche, but they're the pillars for a reason.
Yeah, totally. Do you have anything cool coming up, like this autumn or winter?
We're going to Australia in September.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's good. We're going to go with the Circle Jerks. So that's fun because I'm in band with Greg called Punk Rock Karaoke. So
Right.
yeah, so that's going to be fun. And after that, I think we're off until we're talking about maybe some stuff in the beginning of the year, maybe going to Europe, but we're not absolutely positive. So
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much for being on here and hanging out. And I loved our chat. And I'm excited for people to hear, your experiences and see if it inspires them to move themselves in like a better direction. So
it was very nice talking to you too, Amy. So thanks for having me on. Appreciate
cool.
it.